Happy Sunday. Let me get my title in here. My pinned comment while we wait. Hope everybody's having a good start to your new month and or having a good day, depending on when you're watching this. If you're watching this on a replay and it's not the start of the month, hope you're having a good day, week, year, lifetime. What's going on, MJ? As y'all checking in, shout yourselves out in the comment section. We're going to get into this within the next 60 seconds. I'm going to give people a minute to check in, and then we'll get into it. I hope everybody had a good month of April. You had a good first trimester of 2022. Hope y'all been setting goals for yourselves. So we head into the second 4-month block of the year. And to this brand new month, you come in with some goals. Don't show up with no goals and no plans and not knowing what you're going to be doing. Knowing what you're working on, know what you're doing, know what you're working on, have some plans, some goals in place. And I'm going to introduce myself in about 10 seconds, and then we're going to get right into what we need to get into here today. We're going to talk about inaccurate formulas today. I'm trying out this watermelon water. I actually like this. It ain't bad. I usually only drink regular water. But anyway, for those of you who are checking in, you can shout yourselves out. I will take questions at the end of this, but I'll introduce myself real quick. My name is Dre Baldwin, former 9-year pro athlete, author of 31 books, created this whole framework, philosophy brand called Work on Your Games, all about taking the tools, attributes, aspects, skills, strategies, all of that stuff that you need to succeed in the sports world, and applying those tools and those strategies, those approaches, the mindsets, the executions, the applications, applying all of that to your everyday work and to your everyday life. What I want to talk today, specifically, we're going to talk about some inaccurate formulas that many of us have been taught, whether it's been, for the most part, it's been socialized into us. We just get it socialized in different ways. Some people, you got it from your job. Some of you got it at school. Some of you got it from your parents at home. Some of you got it from, some of you might have got it from social media, depending on your age. If you've been raised on social media, you might have got the stuff off of social media. And some of you got it from all these different places. You got all these different, they just dripped on you, different influences from all these different places put together, and it has become part of your mindset. But the challenge with this, with these inaccurate formulas that I'm going to lay out here today, is that if you operate by these formulas, then you're actually sending yourself in a direction that you don't want to go, somewhere that's going to take you somewhere that you don't want to be, and you're going to think that you're doing the right stuff because this is what's been taught to you, again, by your bosses, by your teachers, by your parents, by your friends, by your influencers, and it's only going to be too late when you finally realize, like, damn, wait a minute, this formula that I'm using doesn't actually work. I'm doing all this stuff, but it's not actually going to get me what I want. You're thinking that you're adding, 1 plus 1 is going to equal 2, but then you realize that you weren't adding 1 plus 1. You were adding like -1 plus -1. So what you actually end up with is a -2. You end up in the exact opposite spot of where you actually want it to be. So that's what we're going to talk about here today. So let's get clear, first of all, on why I even use this phrase when I say inaccurate formulas. So any of you who's familiar with me, if you listen to my podcast, I got a show called Work on Your Game, by the way, for those who don't know. It's on Apple, Spotify, Google Play, Blueberry, Overcast, all of that stuff. We put the videos up on YouTube as well, even though the YouTube videos come out maybe like 60 to 90 days after the audio. So if you want to listen to that, look it up on your favorite audio app. The definition of a formula, just to be clear, it's a mathematical relationship or rule that is expressed in symbols, or a list of ingredients for or constituents of something. That's what a formula is. In other words, a formula is, if you follow this process, you get this outcome. So some other words that we use for formulas are recipe. Any of you ever cook food, or any of you likes to cook? When you're making something that you haven't made before, usually you follow a recipe. You make something you made before, you follow a recipe. You know that you follow this process and you do it this way, this much, and for this long, you're going to get this outcome. We also call it a process, a system. All of these are forms of formulas. And if you're using a formula that works, you know you can produce the same result over and over and over again. Unfortunately, many of you have been taught some formulas, some recipes, some systems that people have told you over and over again all of your life, that if you just follow these formulas, or you follow this particular formula, you're going to get this outcome, which is usually something that you want. The challenge is it's not actually true. People have told you these things because they sound good, and sometimes they make these incorrect references, and I'm going to get into all of that as to how these formulas, even though they're inaccurate, how they keep getting told over and over again to people, and people don't even realize they're getting the wool pulled over their eyes. Sometimes you're getting it, most of the time actually, you're getting pulled over your eyes by people who are well-meaning. They're trying to help you out, but they just don't know what they don't know. Like, you ever had somebody try to give you directions to get somewhere, but they didn't really know how to get there? So even though they were trying to help you out, they actually made the situation worse because they just gave you bad information. That's what happens when you get inaccurate formulas most of the time. Now, there might be a few people who give you an inaccurate formula on purpose because they're trying to mess you up. Most of the time, that's not the case. Most of the time, people are trying to help. They just mess you up because they don't know what they don't know. But let's get into it so you understand exactly why these formulas are so inaccurate. Number one, let's get to the most pernicious, inaccurate formula that everybody has been taught to follow, especially in the United States, especially in Western society, is the inaccurate formula of hard work. And I'll just take a sip to that one. The inaccurate formula of hard work. What is the formula? The formula is, all y'all know the formula of hard work. What is it? If you just work hard and you just show up and you just keep doing all the work, and you show up early and you stay late and you just put as much effort as possible into everything that you do, then you are going to be successful. Everybody's heard that before. Many of you believe it. Many of you probably even say it to other people. Hard work is the most egregious, inaccurate formula for success that is known to man. And let me explain to you what I mean by this when I say it's an inaccurate formula. Again, a formula is like a recipe. It's like a set of instructions. It's a process. It's a system, not the element itself. So let me be clear. Working hard, is that an element of success? Yes, it is. Are people who are successful, do they work hard? Yes, they do. Those of you who are, if you're listening to me right now, if you consider yourself successful in some area of your life, whether it's your professional life, your family life, your fitness, your finances, your friends, whatever, you probably put some hard work into that area, and that's one of the reasons why you're successful there. But understand there's a difference between being an element of success and being the reason for success. Those are two different things. Hard work alone is not a formula for success. Again, a formula is a step, a series of actions. It's not just something that if you just do this, you're going to become successful. So any of you who's ever heard the saying, and it's been attributed to a lot of different people in the sports world, that says hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. That's not necessarily true. If someone has enough of an advantage over you talent-wise, you could work as hard as you want. They're still going to beat you. Why? Because they have some element that leads to success that you simply don't have, and that your element can't beat their element. Even if you have more of yours, 80 units of your element doesn't beat 20 units of their element. That's how it works. Sometimes in life, it depends on what you're working with. So just having more and more and more of something does not necessarily mean that you're going to be successful. So the most egregious, inaccurate formula out there is hard work. Just working hard is not enough for you to be successful. If you're working really hard, but you're going in the wrong direction, or you don't have any of the right tools to work hard with, then you're not going to get your outcome. For example, if I'm trying to build a house, but I don't have any actual tools, I don't have any wrenches, no hammer, no nails, no screwdriver, no what's the other tools that you can use to build a house, or whatever the other tools are. If I don't have any of those tools, but I'm trying to build a house, I could be the hardest working guy in the whole town, but my house will probably never get built, even if I'm working harder than all the other construction crews in town. Even if those guys are working only 10% as hard as me, if they have the tools, they're going to get their houses done faster and more efficiently than I'm ever going to get my house done. Why? Because I only have an element that can lead to success, but they have a process. And those tools actually that's another element that gives them more opportunity to follow a process that I simply can't follow. because there's only so much I can bang a nail into a board with my bare hands. And who wants to live in a house that's been put together like that? Probably nobody. So this thing about hard work, understand that hard work is an element of success. It is not a formula for success. Hard work is to success what salt and pepper are to a burger. Like yesterday, for example, I went and ordered a cheesesteak from this place down here in Miami. It's not far from me. I never had it before. They actually put too much salt and pepper on it. It was a little bit too salty for me. But the point is, putting salt and pepper on a sandwich is not the sandwich itself. You took away the sandwich and all you had left was the salt and pepper, i.e. the hard work. All right, that's probably not going to be a good meal for you. But if you add the salt and pepper to the sandwich, then the sandwich can enhance it as long as you like salt and pepper. The whole point being, you got to understand the difference between an element and a formula. And many people don't understand this difference because, again, we've been conditioned our entire lives to think that if we just do this thing, if you just do this, then you're going to get the outcome. And this is what I hear from a lot of people sometimes when people text me. I got a text list, a text community, as a matter of fact. When I send out my free daily motivation text every day, any of you who wants to receive it, all you got to do is text me at this number right here. I just posted in the chat. When I send out that text, usually I ask people, what's the biggest challenge that you're dealing with right now? Or sometimes people will just text me and tell me about a challenge that they're dealing with. And I'll ask them, well, what are you doing to resolve this challenge? What are you doing to work on it? How long have you been dealing with it? What are you doing to fix it? And people will say something like, well, I'm going to focus on myself. I'm going to work on myself. I just got to keep believing in myself. I got to pray. I'm going to take a walk every day. It'll be some version of they're going to pretty much do nothing. Or they say something along the lines of, I'm just going to work harder at whatever the problem is, and hopefully that's going to solve the situation. Working harder on a situation that you've been in already is probably not going to solve your problem. And I want to let that one sink in. If you've had a problem for 6 months, 3 months, 10 years, 5 years, working harder on that problem is not going to solve the problem, because if working harder on the problem will solve the problem, wouldn't you have fixed it already by now? Would you already have gotten rid of the issue if all you need to do is just work harder and all of a sudden it'd be taken care of, it'd be done? Clearly, we all know the answer is yes. You would have been solved that problem a long time ago if all you had to do was just put more effort into the situation. More effort is not always the answer to your issue. Usually the answer to an issue, something that's been going on for a while, that you can identify when you know exactly what the problem is, usually it means you just need to get a better formula and a better process for addressing the issue. Not, let me just believe in myself more, work harder, let me wake up earlier, let me stay up later, let me just push myself even more. That's not going to work. And if that was the case, if that's all you needed to do, why didn't you do it already? And if that's all you needed to do and you haven't done it, then that means just telling yourself to do it harder or push harder or work harder ain't going to be enough to move you to action. So that's not going to work either. And this is what many people end up telling themselves. Well, I just need to work harder and be more dedicated and go harder and whatever other phrases that they want to use. Be more determined and this, that, and the third in order to get to the outcome. No, that's not a solution to a problem. Most of the time, that's not the solution to your problem. That could be the solution to your problem if you're, for example, you're running a marathon. You get to the last mile and you want to pass the guy in front of you. Yeah, work harder. All right, just run harder and you can finish. As soon as the marathon's done, you can stop running and you can collapse on the ground. Maybe that'll work. Other than that, you're going to need a formula. You're going to need a process. You're going to need a system. There's a comment here that says, work smarter, not harder. Yeah, that sounds good. That's another formula that people are told. But the challenge with the work smarter, not harder formula is that if you don't know what smarter is, if you don't have a formula for what makes something smarter, and you don't know what your outcome is, then yeah, you can say that, but it doesn't mean you're actually going to do it. So again, that's one of those formulas that sound good. We call those the masturbation formulas because they sound good and they feel good, but then people don't actually know what to do. So working smarter, first of all, you got to get a formula for what constitutes smarter. All right, how do we know if this idea is smarter or that idea is smarter? We need to know what the outcome is that we're after. How do we know this one's going to get there? How do we know this one's going to get there? You have to figure all these things out from the beginning. This is why asking the right question is more important than having the right answers. So even when I talk about stuff like this, and people text me and they tell me about the challenges that they have, or people email me and I see the kind of problems that people have. And I talk about this stuff on my podcast, is that a lot of times when I ask people, I always ask people when they're telling me the challenges, what is your process or what is your plan for dealing with this? And people are always trying to give me answers of what they're going to do. After they just told me they've had the same problem for the last 2 years. And I say, well, what's your solution? And then they give me some solution. It sounds really simple and it sounds really good. And the thing is, here's the thing that you all got to understand. They shouldn't even be giving me answers. Because if they already knew the answer and it was simple enough that they could send it to me in a text message, what the answer is, why do you even have the problem? Because if you already got the answer, then you should already have this solved. It shouldn't even be a problem. It shouldn't even be a challenge for you. What most people need to do is ask more questions instead of providing answers. And this is another inaccurate formula that people have, is that people have these problems that go on for years, months in their own lives, and then you ask them what they're going to do to fix it, and within 30 seconds they got an answer for you. Well, mofo, if you got the answer, why you got the problem? It makes no sense, right? If you really think about it, that doesn't make any sense. What many people need to do is say to me or to somebody, well, what can I do? Because if I had an answer, then I probably wouldn't have the problem. You know how rarely anybody ever says that to me? Almost everybody has an answer for their own problem, yet they got the problem. Nobody ever says, Dre, you know what? I don't have an answer, because if I had an answer, you know what? I wouldn't have this problem. What do you suggest I do? What do you think I can do? What's something I can do in this situation? But many people in the world that we're in now, because we have so much information out there, everyone thinks they're informed. A lot of people have a lot of information, but they're not actually informed. And those are two different things. Having access to information means you can get on Google.com. And all of you who are listening to me right now, you have access to information. It doesn't mean you're informed. Informed means you have accurate information about the areas that matter most to you. Not just you have access to any information, period. I mean, there are a million books on Amazon right now. You technically have access to all of them. As long as you got $20, you could buy any one of them. But are you informed? Do you have the information that will actually help you get you to where you want to go? And is it even in a book? Is it even on Amazon? Do you even know what to search on Google? Do you even know who to ask? That's what makes people informed. It's not just about do you have something that sounds good, or can you repeat some phrase that sounds good on the internet? So this is an inaccurate formula of working hard. You have to know what your desired outcomes are, and then you go find the formula that can help you get to that outcome. Many people never ask themselves these very questions, and even when they do, they don't have answers, but then they won't humble themselves enough to go get the information from someone or something who might have it. So this is number one, hard work. This is not a formula for success. Number two, we're talking inaccurate formulas here. Number two, inaccurate formula is being very good or even being great at what you do. This is an inaccurate formula for success. Being very good or great at what you do is not a formula for success. Is it an element of success? Yes, it is. Is it a formula for success? No, it is not. Just like with hard work. Yes, be good at what you do, just like you should work hard. But being good by itself doesn't get the outcome. Because I know many people who are really good at what they do, and they work really hard. They do both at the same time. Yet at the same time, they don't have their desired outcomes, and they're extremely frustrated by this fact. And the reason why you can be good at what you do and work hard and still not get your outcome is because you do not have a strategy for applying your skill and your effort to a desired outcome. So your desired outcome is where you want to be. Let's say this is where you want to be by the end of the year, or this is how much money you want to make. And I'll address all the questions at the end of this. So whatever it is that you want to achieve is up here, the North Star. So you're good at what you do and you're putting in effort. Do you have a plan to get from here with your hard work and your skill to there, your outcome? If you don't have a plan, then you can be good and working hard every single day and still not get to your outcome. And some of you know exactly what that feels like. I've known what that's felt like. I hear from athletes all the time who talk about this. I hear from entrepreneurs all the time who have this challenge. I'm good at what I do. I know I can help people. I know I can serve people. I've already helped people. I've already served people. I work hard all the time. I'm trying to figure it out, but I haven't quite gotten to the outcome that I want to get to. It's because you do not have an accurate formula for getting there. You don't have a strategy. You do not have a plan. You do not have a process. And then when sometimes I ask people and they sound like they got all the answers, as I just said, they feel like they have all the answers as to what the process is for them to get to the outcome. Well, and my answer to that, anytime someone comes back to me really quick with an answer, if that was actually the answer, then why do you even have a problem? And that there's no answer to that, because the actual answer is, my answer, not theirs, but my answer is, that formula that you think you have doesn't work. All right, that's why that's not the answer. That's why you need to do something different than what you normally done. We all know the definition of insanity, right? Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting to get a different result. So many people become frustrated simply because they don't have a process, even though they're working really hard. So when I was playing ball, for example, my background is in professional sports. When I was playing ball, I knew I had game. I knew I had talent. I could run, jump, shoot, dribble, pass, all that stuff. All the stuff you need to do on a basketball court, I knew I was good at doing. And I knew I worked hard. And I knew I worked hard on my game. That's how I developed the skills in the first place. But when I wanted to play professional basketball, I didn't know how to do it. There was no process that I was following to do it. And at the same time, the internet wasn't the internet at this point. So I had to go kind of figure it out on my own. It wasn't like it was anybody I could go to and say, hey, can you give me the formula for how to go make this happen? There wasn't any books like the Overseas Basketball Blueprint, which is this book right here, where I laid out the blueprint, literally the blueprint for how to play professional basketball. It is covered here in this book and my 3 other books about agents, exposure camps, and about the business side of the game. This didn't exist. I wrote the book. So when I was trying to play, guess what book I read? Well, there wasn't one. So there wasn't anything for me to read. So I had to just do random stuff and keep trying different things until I found a formula that worked. Luckily, I was able to figure it out, and then I could go work backwards and figure out what worked and what didn't work for me, and then I could put it into a book and I could teach that information to other people. But that's just me. With the things that any of you is trying to do today, there are formulas and strategies and processes out there that you can follow that will help you get to these outcomes. But you must first, this is the first humble step that people had to take, is understanding I probably am not going to figure this out on my own. And if I do, it's going to take me so long that it's not even worth it. Let me go get the information, the process, the system from someone or something, because it could be a course, it could be a company, it might be an individual person. Let me go get the information or the process from someone who already has it, so I can shorten my learning curve, so I can shorten the timeline between not having the success and actually having the success. See, many people, the difference between not having success and having success is like 50 years. So you're 22 years old, and instead of going and getting the information from someone who has it, and you'll be at your success by age 25, it'll take you 3 years, and you can take any number here. You can be 42 years old, you get there by 45, whatever number, whatever age that is. Instead of taking 3 years to get to the outcome, what many people do is say, well, all I got to do is just work hard. All I got to do is just make myself better. All I got to do is just believe in myself. All I got to do is keep showing up. All I got to do is just keep pushing. All I got to do is just read another book. All I got to do is watch another YouTube video. All I got to do is just listen to more Dre's podcast episodes, and then I'll figure it out. And while they keep telling themselves that all I have to do, and they just keep doing the things that are comfortable for them, that are in their comfort zone, 50 years go by. So then, by the time you finally get to your success, you're 90 years old or you're 73 years old, then you finally got to your success because you finally figured it out. Maybe. This is what many people do. Let me tell you what smart people do instead. They go and invest in themselves, and they get access to the processes, the systems that actually work and will help you produce results. Yes, you need to do something. You need to have game, and you need to have some skill. You need to be willing to work. You got to be willing to listen. All of those things. This is why people like myself and others, and maybe some of you, this is why we join masterminds. We join coaching programs. We go to live events. We hire coaches. We get into programs and things like this. I'm in multiple programs at all times. Of course, I read books. Yes, I listen to people's podcasts. Yes, I'll follow somebody on social media. Maybe. I don't really count social media as an investment at all. And books are fine, but I like to go higher level. All right, how can I get more information from someone who I know has the process? That is what you need to be looking for, and you need to decide, where am I going to get this access and where am I going to get this information from? That's what shortens your learning curve. And that whoever you get that information from needs to be someone who can look at what you're doing and tell you why what you're doing, okay, this part is going to work, This part's not going to work. This is a good idea. This is not a good idea. Keep doing more of that. Do a lot less of that. Delete that part. Add in this part. You need to get around people who can give you that kind of information and give you that kind of feedback. If you don't have that, you can't give yourself that feedback. Why? Because you can't see yourself in the mirror. That's one of my first mentors in the business world told me. You can't see yourself in the mirror. There's certain angles of yourself and your life that you can't possibly see objectively simply because we are too emotionally connected to ourselves. This is why a barber doesn't cut his own hair. Like a dentist doesn't fix his own teeth. A doctor doesn't operate on himself. A hairdresser doesn't do her own hair. Why? Because somebody else has to be able to see things in you that you can't see yourself. And they can be objective about it, whereas you can't. This is why you have to get into the right spaces. You can't just think, well, let me just, and then just do more of what you already been doing and hope that it works. So you got to get honest with yourself, and being honest with yourself does not mean you provide all your own answers. It means get honest enough with yourself to know that you can't provide all the own answers. You cannot provide all your own answers. You need to get those answers and that reflection, so to speak, from someone else. So these are number 2. So that was your first 2. Number 1, hard work, inaccurate formula. Number 2 is, I forgot even what the title was. Number 2, inaccurate formula we are talking about here today is being good or even being great at what you do. Number 3, inaccurate formula is believing in yourself. Yes, believing in yourself. These are some of the things y'all been taught your entire lives. Just believe in yourself. You'll be successful. Back when I used to do all basketball videos, I would get basketball players hit me up like in the comments and stuff all the time. So some player would come in. This would happen all the time. Some player would come in and they would say, Dre, I'm trying to make my high school team, for example. I didn't make the team, or I'm on the team, but I'm sitting on the bench. I'm not getting playing time. I think I'm better than the guys who play more than me. The coach plays his son more than me. The coach's son is not even that good. I was the best player at tryouts, but I didn't make the team. It's the same things over and over again. Every player says the same stuff. And I would either, one of 2 things would happen. I would either give them an answer and let them know, like, okay, come on with the BS. You talking about how you're, based on your comment, you're Kobe Bryant, but you didn't make the basketball team. You're Michael Jordan, you're LeBron, but you didn't make the basketball team. What you need to do is work on your game and look at the results that you're getting, because the results are telling you the objective truth about your game. Or before I even got a chance to answer, here's what would happen. Either way, this is what would happen. Somebody would either come in behind me or they would come in before me, and they would say something like, they would respond to that player before I said anything, and they would say, well, look, this player, they named some famous guy. He didn't make his team till he was in high school, or this player, he wasn't recruited. He only got 1 scholarship offer or something like that. All you got to do is just keep believing in yourself, keep working hard, keep showing up every day, and you'll make it, and with a whole bunch of exclamation points. And then the player would be really thankful, right? The player would thank them and say, thank you for saying that. I'm going to believe in myself. I appreciate the feedback. Thank you for that commentary. And then the player would seemingly be satisfied. And this is the reason why that example is why believing in yourself is another inaccurate formula. Because when somebody validates you and affirms you by telling you everything that you think about yourself and everything that you've already been doing is 100% correct, all you got to do is just keep doing it and keep thinking it and keep believing it. Eventually the heavens will part and everything's going to work out for you. This is a bullshit, inaccurate formula that does not work. And this is where you need some level of discipline and mental toughness to understand that just because somebody tells you something that feels good does not mean it will do you good. Let me say that one more time. Just because someone tells you something that feels good to you and validates you and affirms what you already believed does not mean it's going to help you do good and perform well. This is an inaccurate formula. And this would happen all the time in the athletic. It happens, probably still happens. I'm not around in that world as much anymore, but in the athletic world, this happens all the time because every athlete thinks every basketball player thinks he's the next, Either he thinks he's LeBron, Jordan, or Kobe, like the superstar from the beginning, or they think they're the diamond in the rough that nobody knows about, and eventually one day somebody's gonna discover them, and all of a sudden they're gonna become Tracy McGrady or Kevin Durant or Kyrie Irving. Like every athlete just thinks that they just need somebody to notice them, then all of a sudden everything is gonna be amazing. When the actual truth is you're just not as talented as you think you are. But a lot of athletes don't want to hear that. Now anybody who knows my work, and even if you're just listening to me for the first time now, I'm not the type of person who's going to tell you that. I'm not going to blow any smoke. I'm going to tell you the truth about where you're at, especially if I can see exactly what you're doing. But even if I can't, let's look at your results. Y'all have to understand that the marketplace doesn't lie. The marketplace tells you the value of what it is that you have and what it is that you're offering. I don't know if any of you works in real estate, or any of you ever watch any of those real estate reality shows. And I remember when they first started coming out, those reality shows, maybe about 10 plus years ago, something like that. I would watch them, and every episode it'd be this situation. A realtor will go land a listing. In other words, they got somebody who wants to sell their house, and they got signed to be the person who can help sell the house. And they want to do that because they get a commission, they sell the house, they make some money. And the owner of the house will say, all right, Mr. Real Estate Agent, I believe this house is worth $8 million. So go get me a buyer who's willing to pay me $8 million for this house. The real estate agent would go out and try to find somebody who wants to pay $8 million for the house. And they would get a bunch of people come look at the house, and they would put in an offer. And all the offers would be like $7 million, $7.5 million, 7.7, 7.2, 7.1. And the real estate agent will go back to the owner and say, well, look, Mr. Owner, here are the offers that you're getting. 7.2, 7.1, 7.3, 6.5. And the owner of the house would get mad at the real estate agent. And he would say something like, well, hey, I believe my house is worth $8 million. I believe in this house. I put a lot of money into this house. I think this house is worth $8 million. Go find me somebody who's going to pay $8 million for this house, or I'll fire you and I'll go find a real estate agent who can get me $8 million. Here's the thing that you need to understand. The marketplace is always telling you your value. The marketplace is telling you what your worth is based on the results that you are getting. If you want different results than what the marketplace is telling you, that means you need to show the marketplace something different than what you are doing. Believing in yourself and continuing to do what you always done is going to get you the same results that you have always gotten. And all it's going to do, if you step up your belief, all it's going to do is increase your frustration. Because now you believe even more that you should be getting a different result, yet you're going to keep getting the same result. And that's going to lead to increased frustration and increased insanity. Again, we know the definition. Doing the same thing, but expecting a different result. Believing in yourself more is not doing anything different. So, again, when people text me, I get these texts all the time from people, and I ask them, all right, what is your plan? What are you going to do to solve this challenge that you just told me that you have? And people will say some version of, usually it's 3 different things. Focus on myself, believe in myself, work on myself. Usually one of those 3 things. I'm going to focus on myself. I just need to believe in myself more. I got to push myself more. I need to work on myself. Usually when people say work on themselves, I say, well, what kind of work are you doing? What's the work? And then it'll be some version of some BS like, well, I need to I'm going to listen to more of your podcasts. Or, I got your book 3 months ago, but I never read it. So now I'm actually going to read the book. It'll be some version of that. All right, that is not work, folks. Believing in yourself is not work. Believing in yourself is not a process. And believing in yourself is not a system. It is not a formula for success. Again, just like the other 2 that I've said here so far. Should you work hard? Yes. Should you be good at what you do? Yes. Should you believe in yourself? Yes. But all of these are elements of success. They are not formulas for success. You should believe in yourself. Well, you will believe in yourself, and you'll be able to believe in yourself a lot more when you know you have a process that actually produces a result. Because then you can get other people to believe in you. Only people who are believing in you now probably are your parents, maybe your grandma, simply because they want to, simply because they want you to be successful. But is that a formula for success? No, it is not. Believing in yourself is a false idea that people incorrectly believe is sufficient for creating the outcomes that you want. Okay? I would not leave home without self-belief, but at the same time, I would not leave home also without a strategy that gives me a reason to believe. So one simple example is if you want to see a sunset, everybody knows that the sun rises in the east and it sets in the west. If you want to see a sunset and you're driving to the east so you can see the sunset, that is an inaccurate formula. No matter how much you believe in it, you're not going to see the sunset because you're going in the wrong direction. So this is why the formulas matter so much. So this is another inaccurate formula that, let me tell you some more about this believing in yourself, because this could be I could do a whole episode of my podcast about this. I probably will sometime in the future. But many of us have been taught these things, right? Since a kid, you've been taught believe in yourself, have confidence. Listen, I've done 2 TED Talks on confidence. I've written books on confidence. Listen, I'm not against confidence at all. I'll tell you. Here's my book, The Super You. It's all about confidence. Unlocking and living with your highest level of confidence. You see it right there. This is all about self-belief. My book, Working Your Game. I got a whole chapter in this book that is all about confidence. The mental workbook. I talk in this book all the time about believing in yourself and how this leads to more belief in you. All of these things are part of the process of believing in yourself, but understand just having these things alone is not a formula for success. Again, outcomes and elements are 2 different things. Elements put together in a, what's the word I'm going to look for here? A coherent system produces a specific outcome. But if you don't know what that system is, then just having the elements alone doesn't do anything. It's kind of like if you got a whole bunch of groceries that you bought from the grocery store, but you don't have a recipe for actually making the spaghetti or making the tuna casserole. Well, are you going to have a complete meal? You're probably not. So this is why you got to make sure you're following an accurate formula. So good thing for all of you is that you got people like me out here telling you these things so that you don't keep running your head into a brick wall. Now let's go to the last one, and I'm going to address all questions. If you got a question or comment about anything I've said so far or anything I will say, go ahead and post it in the comments. I'll address it in a minute. This is the last one. Inaccurate formulas that you've been taught. It's what other people tell you. Your friends specifically. Your friends, your followers on social media, your co-signers, the people who validate you, the people who tell you that everything that you're doing is right, just keep doing it and eventually you're going to get to the success. Whatever those people are telling you is in just listening to them and people telling you that you deserve something is an inaccurate formula for success. Deserving is not a formula for success. That's another one I need to let sit in. You do not deserve anything until you have it. If you really believe you deserve something, you got to go get it. You got to go take it. Go have it. But deserving is not a formula for success, folks. And for many people, depending on how many friends you have, depending on how big your network, how many followers you got on social media, this is the one that's probably the most annoying to either live out, because now you're wondering why are these people telling you deserve something yet you still don't have it. Or if I hear people saying this, or all of my friends, as an athlete, I get athletes all the time who would say to me, well, Dre, I felt like I was the best player at tryouts. All my friends who were at tryouts told me I was the best player. I didn't make the team. All the guys who did make the team said that I was the best player at tryouts, but I still didn't make the team, Dre. I don't understand why I didn't make the team. And I'd say to them, well, I find it hard to believe. I would say this to athletes all the time. I find it hard to believe you were the best player at tryouts, and everybody in the gym thought you were the best player, yet you weren't even one of the top 15 on the roster, but you were the best player. I find that hard to believe. I think most of the time they're lying. And I would always tell them that. Like, I don't agree with you. I don't believe you that you were the best player. If you were the best player at tryouts and you didn't make the team, then transfer to another school. And if you were the best player there, you could at least be in the top 5 somewhere else, and you'll be on the team. But this one usually gets extirpated from people's mindsets by the time they reach adulthood. Usually as children, we go on this whole, I deserve something. I should have something. Just because I want something, it should be bestowed onto me. Usually we have this as children, but by adulthood, we're not thinking like this anymore. But some people, it never leaves them. It never leaves them. When we get into the real life, we throw away this deserving thing. But again, not everybody. So your belief in yourself and the deserving of something can match when you have the process and the aptitude to go and actually get the thing that you are talking about deserving. If you are sitting back passively believing that you deserve something that you do not yet have, you should get comfortable not having it, because you ain't going to get it. It's not going to just fall in your lap. All right, this is not just stating some positive affirmation and just thinking something that all of a sudden is going to fall, like the law of attraction. The law of attraction by the way, does not mean just because you're thinking about something you're going to get it. The law of attraction is, more accurately, I did a whole episode on the law of attraction, by the way. Let me tell you what episode that number is, just in case any of you want to go listen to it. That was episode number... Now, I did one on the law of association. I should actually do a separate one on the law of attraction. I talked about it in episode 185, also on episode 2143 and episode 1087. The law of attraction is about a simple concept that once you decide that you want something, you get mentally on the same wavelength as it. That's the first step. That's not the last step. That's the first step. You're in the same wavelength of something that you want. In other words, you're thinking about it and you are vibrating energetically on the same level as it. The next thing is you start taking the actions to get it. It's be, do, have. And then the last step is you actually achieve it. And it doesn't happen that quick. It might not happen the same day. It might take you years to do that. But the law of attraction is you start with the mindset and the energy, then the actions follow, then the results follow after that. It's not just you think about it and then you get it. Don't forget the doing part. That's maybe the hard work part that would be in the middle. So let me recap these 4 points that I just gave you all here today. So I want to make sure everybody got these, because we are talking the 4 inaccurate formulas, or just 4 inaccurate formulas that people follow all the time that do not work. Number 1, hard work. This is an inaccurate formula. Just working hard is not a formula for success. Number 2, being good at what you do. Being good or even great at what you do does not mean you're going to get a specific outcome. The closest place you can get a good outcome just from being good is in the sports world, because it's a meritocracy and is the closest thing to a black and white performance to result thing that we have in the world. But in the business world, absolutely not. Being good is not a formula for success. So hard work, being good. Number 3, believing in yourself. Just because you believe something, you can believe all you want. Until you have a formula to get the outcome, you will not have it. And number 4, feeling like you deserve it, especially when other people tell you you deserve something. Just because somebody else told you deserve something means absolutely nothing. If someone who's not buying something from you tells you that you deserve to sell a whole bunch of copies of your course or your book or your product, well, the fact that they didn't buy anything is the thing you should be paying attention to, not the words coming out of their mouth. So you got to understand which questions to ask and what elements to be looking at, not just the elements to make you feel good about yourself. So let me take questions here. If you have a question, go ahead and post it in the comments section, and I will address them all in a moment as I'm scrolling through. Deal Fitness, what's going on? See what we got here in the comments section. Go Give Her. So you're getting a daily motivation text. And if you're not getting a daily motivation text, you can text me at my number 305-384-6894. I'll post it again in a minute. Always Training, what's going on? Grice Man said, what I learned to do over the years is create my own opportunities. Don't wait around for the perfect storm to happen. Yeah, that's a pretty good idea. You should create your own opportunities. Always Training says, hard work is more of an emotion. Not necessarily. It's not an emotion. Hard work is an action. It is a thing to do. It could be based on emotion, but it really depends on the formula that you're following. Hard work is a good idea. It's just you need a formula to apply the hard work to, is what I want everybody to understand. It said numbers don't lie. That's correct. Grace says, I get people around me ignore what I do opposed to learning what I do. I see it as people being fearful of your potential success. Well, Grace, I would push back on that and say most people probably don't care about your potential success. They probably don't think about you as much as you think that they might be thinking about you. Most people are focused on themselves. So I don't think they're projecting out your success or what you're going to do. They're really thinking about themselves, and if they're ignoring you, then they're probably not pretending to ignore you. They probably actually are ignoring you. Just like you ignore other people. You're not sitting around thinking about their potential success the same way they're not sitting around thinking about yours. So I've been doing these lives to get people ready for my live event, which is called Work on Your Game Live. It will be starting this upcoming Thursday. Wednesday's the last day to get your ticket. You get the ticket at that link right there, workonyourgame.live. The link is in my bio as well. It's a 2-day virtual event. You can consume the whole thing attend the whole thing from the comfort of your own home. Day 1 is mindset and strategy. Day 2, application and execution. This is specifically for entrepreneurs, thought leaders, salespeople, brand builders, coaches, speakers, authors, trainers, any of you who wants to take the knowledge out of your head and you want to package it and sell it to your audience and to consumers and make money from it and build a business around it, a full-time business around it, this event is for you. Again, you get the ticket by going to workonyourgame.live. It's a 2-day event. Yes, you get access to all the recordings. So if you miss a day or you miss a section of a day, you get access to the recordings at the end of each day. I'll send out an email to everyone who has a ticket for you to access those recordings. Again, that is at workonyourgame.live. That's where you get your ticket. The last day to get your ticket is Wednesday because the event starts Thursday. So if I can take any other questions, go ahead and post them in the comments section and I will address them. And then we'll be wrapping this one up. I got work to do myself. I'm actually creating more of the outline for the event that is coming up this week for my attendees. And we will be going deep into all this stuff specifically for entrepreneurs. The goal of this event is for all of you to be able to go out and build at least business that can at least pay your bills. You can at least pay your bills every single month from your business full time. And once you know how to do that in a formulaic, strategic way, then you can expand it and then you give yourself some more discretionary income so you can do the things you want to do with your life, want to and need to do with your life. Again, that's all at workonyourgame.live. So we'll see if any other questions come through, then we'll wrap this up. We are talking today about inaccurate formulas. 4 inaccurate formulas: hard work, being good, believing in yourself, thinking you deserve it. Those are all inaccurate formulas for success. They are good things to have, but they are not formulas for success. Those things do not by themselves create success. So you appreciate the lives and daily texts. Oh, those of you not getting my daily texts yet, go to my number, which I just posted in the comment section a minute ago, 305-384-6894. I send those out every day. That link is also, all the links that I mentioned are in my bio on Instagram. So there's the contact link for the text and the link to get a ticket to the event those are both on my bio on Instagram. And Wednesday is the last day to get that ticket. So if you go to my bio, wherever you're watching this, if you're watching this on replay, on YouTube or something like that, and you go to my IG bio and you don't see the link to get a ticket, or you go to the link and the page is not up for you to buy a ticket, that's because you're too late. So this event is May 5th and 6th, 2022. Whenever you're watching this, I'll put these up on YouTube. So somebody might watch this like a year later. May 5th and 6th, 2022 is the start of the event. So if you miss it, you miss it. If I will do another one, I don't know. I would not bet on waiting on the next one. I'll get into this one. All right, so we're going to wrap this up, everybody. Y'all have a great Sunday afternoon. Set your goals for the month of May. It is May 1st when I'm recording this, so set your goals for the month. Be ready for this next month. Show up with a plan and work on your game. We out of here. Dre all day.